Hello guys, this is Andropple 101. My channel is based not solely on an Android or Apple device. My channel is based exclusively on non-biased advice. Everything you hear coming from this channel will be non-biased. It will be based purely on the news and how it has affected the community and where we should go. A lot of the times I see that you'll get a commentator that will speak about a device or a particular brand, and they will almost exclusively recommend an Android, or they will recommend an iPhone as the best device on the market. The one thing that I can say about both sides is that Apple has its own device, an iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus, great devices. Then on the Android side, you have the Pixel and the Pixel XL. You've got the LG V20, all great devices. We need to look at this from a non-biased perspective. A lot of groups out there are promoting one agenda, and they will do whatever they can to promote that agenda. They will tell you, don't deal with an Apple, or don't deal with this. Most of the time, from what I've seen in the community, is that we are looking at people that are being judgmental towards an iPhone. Why? Well, look at the market. We got 88% people typically use Android, and that is a purely way over the top numbers game, and there's a reason for that. Don't think it's because one has a better phone. That has nothing to do with it. The numbers game is simply this: you've got cheap phones for Android. You don't have cheap phones for iPhones. Okay? That's just the way it is. iPhones are expensive. It's always been that way. There was a recent article that I read about, it was on one of my feeds. It was talking about how India was buying a ton of iPhones, and people thought this was a great thing. But the commentator made a very good point. iPhone 5Ss were the ones that were being purchased. iPhone 5S. That's an old iPhone. It's cheap. The next phone that they think will be the cheapest phone is an iPhone 6 SE, or the SE, or whatever it was called. I don't even remember the number phraseology in that. So my point is, don't get caught up with all the hype on whether it's Samsung or it's an Apple. Look at it purely from the point of view of the device itself. For instance, you look at the Note 7. Some people say it's the best phone ever created. Other people will say it's not. The phone itself is a bad device, bar none. Why? Because it's dangerous. Okay, I read an article today from Pocket Now that spoke about, and it was just Juan Carlos Bagwell that was on the article, the front portion of the article, and it was talking about the fact that the device itself was made as a grand device. I mean, it was given a lot of hardware, and it was. That doesn't mean it was the best hardware. It just means it was some really good hardware. Okay, it didn't really upgrade heavily on the Galaxy S7 Edge, but it did increase a few things. That was good. And of course, it has the S Pen. I'm not going to argue that, because I am currently using a Note 5. I love the S Pen. The S Pen is probably one of the best things ever for a device. It's one of the things I think Apple needs to look into if they really want to keep in the, if they want to battle in the phablet routine. I think that the S Pen is truly amazing. But back to my point. The Note 7, because of all the new hardware, there was very limited space in their device because they have to keep and conform to a smaller size. People may want a phablet. They want this big device. but they want to have a small device. Doesn't make much sense. The simplicity of it was, and I think there's a lot of facts to back this up. I'm not going to get into that part of it. The point being was that they said there was something about the positive and negative feed, and when they were too close, because the way the battery had to sit in the device along with the motherboard and everything else, and there was just no breathing room for the device itself. And you're supposed to allow a 10% clearance, I guess, in some way that the wires don't have any polarity issues. I'm assuming. I'm not an electrician myself by trade, but I have an IT degree, and I do know that there is polarity issues that happen. That's why whenever you have an IT tech, they have to make sure that none of the Cat5 cables are close to another type of cable. That's standard electrical understanding. So, as I said, we see that the Note 7 was a great piece of hardware, but it was a bad device. Doesn't mean it didn't have bad hardware. Then we look at the iPhone 7. It has great hardware as well. And you say, oh, well, it's just this the stuff on the iPhone 7 is just a replica of what they've given already to the Samsung devices. That's true. However, iPhones have never had it. Also, the Note 7 didn't have stereo speakers, didn't have dual speakers. So how can that be true? Okay, you see what I'm saying? Not to mention, if you look at the price point, $850 for a Note 7. Okay, that's for a 64 gigabyte device with an SD slot capable. Then you have the iPhone 7 Plus. For $850, you get a 128 gig internal memory. And I don't care what anyone says, 128 gigs, that right there is better, bar none, than any type of SD card. It runs faster, it functions better. I'm not talking about overall memory, because yes, you can get a 256 gig SD card, and yes, you can add that into the Galaxy Note 7, but you will never get the speeds capable from internal processing. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, not to mention you can't load everything on an SD card. You can load your pictures, you can load save files, but you cannot load any, well, I shouldn't say any, but most apps. They will not load on your SD card. Therefore, it doesn't really free up a lot of room. It doesn't give you all the functions that you really want. So, my point is, don't get caught up in what other people are saying. Investigate the device. And that's what you're going to get from me. Okay? I am non-biased. I don't talk about this one being pro, this one being con, but I will come to the defense of both sides if I hear any person coming down on one particular side. And I hear it all the time. I'm hooked up with every channel. Okay? I'm hooked up with all the big guys. I've read their stuff. And they're good. They're smart. Don't dismiss what I'm saying. I mean, don't take what I'm saying to mean that these guys are bad at what they do. They're smart. They know what they're doing, and they're very good. So give them an opportunity to speak what they want to about the devices, but always remember to check it out yourself. So this has been Andropple 101, and like I said, there's going to be more videos coming up, but all of them will be non-biased. Alright? Well, I'll talk to you later.